Rabbit, December 1, 2020. The year we can't get over fast enough, but we're going to slow down to give thanks for family and friends in this season of Christmas and giving. It's Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is a tradition. It follows Cyber Monday, which was huge yesterday. Black Friday was a very big disappointment on Friday. About half the ordinary shopping went on at the brick and mortar retails as COVID spikes around the country. Gosh, I started talking about COVID a year ago in December, and I talked about it every day in January. I had no idea it could get to this. I thought we'd stop it before this, but I did get to the bell early, and it's just going to keep people home. But Cyber Monday was huge, and Cyber Monday has always been followed by Giving Tuesday. And so I want to begin the show by asking you from the bottom of my heart, please be as generous as you can to Angel Tree. All Americans unite to support not-for-profits, and many of you have favorite charities. I do. Fetching Mrs. Hewitt does. Of course, we support our churches, but that's not a Giving Tuesday deal. I say you get 5 fingers. One to remind you to give to your church, one to give to a parachurch organization like Young Life or Salvation Army. Salvation Army itself a church, but it does a lot of giving to people who are not in their denomination. They take care of the lost and the least. You give to one United States military charity, and I always support the Semper Fi in America's Fund, as you know. Then you give to an educational institution that has helped you out. I try and support John F. Kennedy High School in Warren, Ohio. And then you give to one that is helping other people out. I think Hillsdale College is great. But on Giving Tuesday, maybe you go outside of the box, and I want you to think about Angel Tree because they are at the very top of HughHewitt.com. I sponsor them this year. They sponsor me this year. They said, please let us come on and be your charity. I said, absolutely. I'd love you to. Angel Tree is Ministry of Prison Fellowship. There are 2.7 million children in the United States. Think about that number, 2.7 million, who have a mom or dad or both parents in jail or prison this Christmas. And Angel Tree does 3 things. They buy gifts for those children. They get a note from mom or dad to those children and attach it to the gifts, and they stick a Bible in with the gifts and the note. And they do that, and then the 4th thing they do is establish a relationship with the child so that they can minister to them through the years that they are without mom or dad and try and break the cycle. I watched Hillbilly Elegy last night with the Fetching Mrs. Hewitt. It's not in theater. I mean, it's in theaters, but we watched it on Netflix. And I love the book, and I think they shorted the Marine Corps in the movie, but there are a couple of great performances. Glenn Close is just amazing. Amy Adams is great, but J.D. Vance's story is heart-touching, and he got out of the cycle because of his brass-knuckled, hard-talking Kentucky grandmother. But so many kids don't, and he almost ended up in jail himself. Instead, he ended up at Yale Law School, and I thought a prison fellowship and Angel Tree, and you can be that person. You can just go click on the Angel Tree banner at the top of HughHewitt.com, or you can call 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764. Make your Giving Tuesday. Well, do it the first thing you do before you even finish your coffee. 888-206-2764. Or go to HughHewitt.com. I prefer when you go online. That way you don't make a mistake. They don't get the number wrong over the phone. And call centers are great. I love call centers. And the people who work there are wonderful people with prison fellowship on their heart. But if you do it yourself online, it works. That's why I prefer online people. Listen, the news out of California is just desperate. I spent a half hour talking to Arnold yesterday for an interview that we will air on Thursday, portions on this show, and then all of it for the Nixon Foundation. It's the 50th anniversary of the founding of the EPA by Richard Nixon. And Arnold was Governor Schwarzenegger's always been a great guest, made me sommelier of California long ago, and controversial figure in his tenure as governor, but a wonderful interview. We had a great time chatting. He wants Mary Nichols to be the EPA director under President-elect Biden. And we'll air that. And we talked at the end about Governor Newsom, because I think he's doing as best he can. And Arnold said he had that French Laundry fiasco, and he's got to get out there and apologize 20 times for it. And he's right about that. That was a fiasco. like Nancy Pelosi at the hairdresser, you can't, and like the Denver mayor, you can't ask people to do A and then do not A. But you can't apologize and then focus people. The numbers in California are just extraordinary. And I know the models have been off. That doesn't mean they'll always be off. And the models in California suggest ICU capacity will max out in the Central Valley and hospital capacity in other places. And that people have just, but I don't agree with the messaging. The messaging is we may have to force you to stay home. I think the messaging should be, could you please stay home for 4 more weeks? The vaccine is coming, and the vaccine will be available to the frontline workers in 4 weeks. So if you just make this Christmas an at-home Christmas, if you just make this Christmas as, you know, I've got friends and family who are in quarantine right now, absolute lockdown quarantine, because they're military. And when they move around to deploy, they got to go into a 2-week quarantine in a hotel room, right? They don't leave the hotel room for 2 weeks when they get to their deployment country. And I know that. They're in it right now. And I'm telling you, if they can do that for 2 weeks, you can live at home for 4 until the frontline workers get the vaccine, which is rolling out thanks to Operation Warp Speed, a modern miracle, an achievement unrivaled in science and logistics in the history of mankind. Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and another one coming. And so just 4 weeks of patience, friend. Now, I'd like to hear from the military. I always love the first hour, 1-800-520-1234. Uniform military. I know you're going to work early. You're always my early callers. President-elect Biden is not named as Secretary of Defense yet. I am surprised by that. I thought it was a mortal lock, as they say in the musical, that Michelle Flournoy, who founded the Center for New American Security, excuse me, she's been the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy under President Clinton. She was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy under Barack Obama. She knows the building. She is a serious defensenik, and would be a steady hand at the Pentagon. She was number 2 to Bob Gates, who's the best Secretary of Defense. I love Rummy, but I think in terms of bipartisan support, Bob Gates would get the most votes for best SecDef in modern times, and she was his understudy. And so I expected her to be nominated on day one, and the progressive wing doesn't like her. Code Pink doesn't like her, which I find hard to believe that President-elect Biden would care much about Code Pink, but maybe the Bernie Sanders folks don't like her. Look, I would like to know what the uniforms would like. It's been a roiling 4 years at defense with General Mattis, followed by the acting, followed by Mark Esper, followed by the new acting. So they've had 4 secretaries of defense, maybe 5. I may have missed someone in there, in 4 years. And I think Michelle Flournoy would come and would stay for 4 years. And as I said on Twitter last night, why make easy ones hard, Mr. President-elect? This one, it's like Ron Klain for Chief of Staff. It's just an easy one. But I would love to hear what the uniforms think. And I have ways of figuring out if they really are. I won't identify who you are. I would just love to hear what the uniforms think. And retired or active duty, fine by me. Michelle Flournoy is married to a retired Navy captain, by the way, which, by the way, makes a big difference. Makes an enormous difference. If you're not yourself a veteran, to have lived the military life in large or small ways is to have some idea and some awareness of the families of everyone who's serving. And that, to me, is another big additional. Yeah, the policy, yes, the experience. She's 60 years old. She's the perfect age, or 59. She is the I don't want to make someone 60 when they're not 60. It's the perfect mix. So 1-800-520-1234. You don't have to comment on former Undersecretary Flournoy. I'd just like to know what you'd like in a Secretary of Defense under President-elect Biden. 1-800-520-1234.